This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy99.7 FM in Accra. We are live in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. We're streaming live on Facebook and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Laura FM in Laura, A1 Radio in Bolgatanga, Sky FM in Sunyani, and Victory FM Aplau. Go digital on Spotify and the MindJoy online app. And coming up, a day of mourning for the Apiati community as 6 residents, including a 15-month-old baby who died in the tragic explosion, are laid to rest. We'll take you live there. Also in this package, Ghana at risk of food insecurity as farmers threaten to move away from the production of grains and cereals following government slash of subsidy for fertilizer by 15%.
Some are saying that they have to stay to producing crops that do not require too much fertilizer, like tubers, yam, cassava, potatoes, what have you.
We'll hear from the Peasant Farmers Association and speak live with the Deputy Agric Minister. Also, Minority Leader reveals decision of the Supreme Court is raising tension among its members, which is likely to affect consensus building on government business.
It's only going to exacerbate the existing tension in Parliament, and we'll all get glued to our respective positions, and that for me can be fatal for the ruling administration and government.
We are live in Parliament as the First Deputy Speaker directs the Table Office to expunge from the records that 118 MPs were present in the chamber. Coming up in sports.
Cape Coast Sports Stadium will be ready for Ghana's World Cup qualifier against Nigeria, despite the brownish nature of the pitch after Independence Day ceremony.
Mufta will bring us details at 20 and later in the bulletin. As we prepare to bid our final farewell to our hero and late manager of the Joy brands, Elvis Kwashi, former and current colleagues eulogize the hero who was and the gap
will be in our memories for so long because he's left some impressions that will take forever to replace.
And it's a real significant loss to the brand.
We have details of this and more in this 30 minutes package. Stay with us. My name is Ernest. This is the home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Sound of the blast that destroyed the Apiati community and claimed 13 lives, leaving several others injured. The tragic incident, which occurred on the 20th of January, has displaced scores of people, with many others still traumatized. Today, the entire community has been thrown into a state of mourning as government holds a mass burial for the deceased. The 6 who are being buried today include a 15-month-old baby, Ella Baidu. The priest officiating the service, Reverend Father Edward Kojo, said, "Sad as it may be, it is a reminder to live for God whilst you're alive."
Man doesn't know when his life will end. It may be 19 years from, 21 years from, 45 years from, and 18 years. 18 million your life is not your own. You live for God.
We are unable to connect to the Adom FM reporter who is on the ground. Once we get him, we'll bring you that interview and tell you what's been happening in Apiati as they bury 6 today in a mass burial. But let's go to the phone lines now and speak to the Deputy Minister for Land and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on the Midday News. So even as we bury 6 of the 13 who lost their lives in that tragic incident, the people who have been hit hard by the situation want government to fast-track the redevelopment of the area. What is the update you can give us in that direction?
A very good afternoon to your cherished listeners and to yourself. Yes, our warm benevolence and condolences to the bereaved family and the victims. I believe the situation of our Apiati has always been a challenge to all of us. And we found ways of handling that situation. You will recall that recently we've been going there, finding ways to get them resettled. The government has nominated a committee that is running around to ensure that we have a befitting greener community. And that is what we champion now. And as I speak with you, in collaboration with the mining companies, we found them befitting place that they are lodging temporarily. Now, what we're doing is to get them well settled. And yes, if they are calling for speedy work, we will do that. And men are on the ground as I speak with you. They are working tirelessly to ensure that they finish before the end of the year. So.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for your time. That's the Deputy Minister for Land and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka. We'll bring you more on this in our subsequent bulletins. But in a separate development, the Land and Natural Resources Ministry has observed a threat to the future mining of granite deposits as quarry sites in the Ashanti region are encroached by private developers. The local assembly say it's becoming increasingly difficult to mine the resource. But Deputy Lands Minister George Mekuduka says anyone who is found to have breached the laws by erecting structures will be demolished without compensation.
Large granite stone deposits create an imposing skyline visible across towns in Afija Kwabre South and Kwabre East districts. The resource, high in demand by estate developers, is a revenue cash cow for these communities. But constant building close to the quarry sites is making it difficult to mine. At the quarry mine sites, Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka, went on a fact-finding tour of the quarry sites to find solution to the problem. He said structures found to be illegal will be demolished.
If I have my concession that has been legally secured and you come and build in the concession without any permission from the assembly nor the lands commission, why not? The person doesn't need any compensation.
That's George Mekuduka, Deputy Lands Minister, and in that report by Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko. Let's go to Parliament now. The Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu has admitted to growing tension among his members, which is likely to affect consensus building and cooperation on government business. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, affirmed the voting right of a Deputy Speaker while presiding in the House. The decision has left the two leading political parties deeply divided, with former President Mahama describing it as shocking. But President Akufo-Addo wants the matter to be put to rest in the interest of national development.
I think we have an opportunity now to put this matter to rest and continue with the work of our parliament and the work of the ordering of our state. But as I say, I suspect that it is this peculiar position which we are with this very headline majority in the parliament that has given rise to all of these disputations and people making claims that are completely beyond the teachings of the Constitution.
President Akufo-Addo there. We can now hear from the Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, who spoke to my colleague Elton Brobe.
This ruling is an attempt and effort to regulate Parliament and how Parliament conduct its business. And that, in my view, stands against the letter and spirit of Article 110 of the 1992 Constitution. But there's something wrong.
Has it in any way deepened the entrenched position already in the House, minority, majority? Is it bringing about tension between members, for example? We've heard Sam George, we've heard the Member of Parliament for Empire, so trading insults on social media, clearly giving an indication of the kind of hostilities likely to emerge between the two sides. What are you doing about it?
I think President Nana Addo Dankwa and the majority leadership needs to accept a simple reality of Ghana's constitutional evolution, that we have a hung parliament. They don't have comfort of numbers. They need to consult more. They need to deepen consultation and work at cooperation other than live in this erroneous impression of a minority dictatorship. We certainly are not dictating to them. We're simply saying that engage us more.
That's Haruna Jusu, Minority Leader. Let's head to the chamber now because the first Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Owusu, has directed that the table office expunge from the records that 118 MPs were present in the chamber. According to the Bekwa MP, the number captured in the records is in sharp contrast with the actual members who were in the chamber yesterday. Now, Parliament yesterday was forced to adjourn sittings abruptly after it was established that the 41 MPs in the House were insufficient to constitute a quorum to transact business.
The objection was raised at a few minutes past 11. I had the bell rung and I said I will adjourn after 10 minutes. We continued for nearly 1 hour. Then those who are saying they were at committee meetings, I've looked at the record. Each one of you, your committee is closed way before Parliament came to a close. Finance Committee meeting, the meeting was adjourned at 11:25 a.m. Which is the other one? Business Committee, the meeting was adjourned at 11:20 a.m. So there's no justification not to be here. The number as at the time proceedings were brought to a close were 42, excluding the person presiding. 42. It is not acceptable that when a record showed that we adjourned because at the time that objection was raised, we did not have the sufficient number, the 94 or so, to 92 to conduct proceedings. We didn't have that number. Then our record will show that there were 118 of us in the chamber. I think that the record should be corrected to reflect the true situation as at yesterday. I so direct.
That's the first Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Owusu. Away from Parliament, let's talk agric now. Some farmers in the country are threatening to move away from the production of fertilizer-fed crops to other food crops following the announcement of a 15% subsidy on fertilizer for the Planting for Food and Jobs policy by government. Now, this will mean that farmers will pay 75% of the cost of fertilizer for the 2022 farming season, increasing their cost of production. Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Dr. Charles Inyaba, tells Joy News this move by the Agric Ministry will worsen the predicament of farmers.
Both smallholder farmers and large-scale farmers that have spoken, they are already thinking of several opinions. But some are saying that they have to stay to producing crops that do not require too much fertilizer, like tubers, yam, cassava, potatoes, what have you, beans or something like that. For large-scale farmers, some are considering whether they will get opportunities organic fertilizer, which is the best way to go. The majority are talking about scaling down their production. I've also spoken to a few of them who said they will rather put their money into other enterprises instead of going into farming. And this has a serious consequences on our food security going forward. This year, for instance, there's limited supply of food in the market, especially the periods like May.
That's the Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Dr. Charles Inyaba. Let's go to the phone lines now and get some government response to this new move. We're joined by the Deputy Minister of Agric in charge of crops, Frimpong Addo. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on the Midday News. First of all, tell us what's informing the 15% slash on fertilizer for the Planting for Food and Jobs program.
Yeah, thank you so much, and greetings to your listeners. The subject of fertilizer subsidy, when it gets to the public domain like this, it's a bit disturbing. My minister has eloquently spoken about it. We've done serious analysis of the situation, looking at the prevailing world situation on fertilizer supply. You see, the main objective of the Department of Food and Jobs, as eloquently expressed by my minister, is this. First of all, the smallholder farmers were suffering because they were not using good input. You see, the input suppliers, what we call the input seeds, and then adequate and continuous supply of fertilizer. So these things are so crucial for the smallholder farmer. But hitherto, until 2017, farmers were getting just some three, for example, maize farmers, some three bags of maize per acre. But with the introduction of the fertilizer, it shot up to between 10 and 15 bags. In certain cases, you could do about 20 bags if you had very good planting. The situation is this: when you get people into this kind of situation where they are now used to the use of fertilizers to increase their production, it's just like any business. The government cannot continue to support at the same magnitude. So you wean yourself out gradually. And this is exactly what we've been doing in the past 2 years. So it moved from the level of 50%, it came to 35%, 25%. But this year, the idea was to pitch it around 25%. But looking at the fertilizer situation, especially the inorganic fertilizer situation in the world, we feel that the little money that government budgeted for us, if you don't ration it very well, you may not get enough of the fertilizers to reach out to all those 1.5 million farmers who have rolled up to participate in the Planting for Food and Jobs program.
And so there's a clear government policy to win farmers of this fertilizer. But the problem is this the time? Is the timing right for this? And there are fears this could potentially lead to some food insecurity situation in the country.
The timing is good now because, you see, last year we had a challenge with fertilizer supplies. And because of COVID and all those things, it affected farming. And our local farmers, those we are subsidizing, were buying it at the open market because they know that when they apply the fertilizers, their crops yield increase seriously. So once they get the produce and they're able to sell in the open market, they still make some profit.
Now the peasant farmers are saying, Doc, that you're going to move away from crops that depend heavily on these fertilizers to other crops. That could pose a challenge for the country, don't you think so?
No. I don't know on what basis my friend Dr. Yaba is talking about this, because there's no scientific basis for him to conclude that way.
Very well. We'll leave it here. Thank you very much. That's Yao Frimpong Ado. He's a Deputy Minister of Agric in charge of crops. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy99.7 FM. Let's take you to court now. The Fix the Country convener, Oliver Bakavomo, has dismissed allegations by the Attorney General that he has failed to cooperate with police investigations throughout his arrest. Documents filed on behalf of the AG at the Tema High Court had accused the youth activist of not assisting with investigations by refusing to unlock his mobile phone as well as show the police his residence in Ghana. This forms part of the AG's push to have the youth activist remain in custody rather than granted bail. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins me in the studio with details. First, let's look at the claim of he failing to cooperate with police as far as the investigations are concerned, specifically on the issue of his residence here in Ghana.
He says when he was showed the warrant that had been granted, the location that was mentioned on the warrant, he said he led the police investigators to search those locations. And so any allegation that he has not cooperated in that regard cannot be accurate.
Then there's also the claim that he refused to unlock his mobile phone for the police. How has he responded to that?
He said once he received that warrant as well, he asked that the warrant be presented to his lawyers, and his lawyers then wrote to the IGP asking that they carry it out in accordance with law. He said he has subsequently filed an application at the High Court challenging the validity of that warrant, and so that is the status with regards to his mobile phone.
Then there's the third claim about who his spouse is, and a bit of controversy about that.
He insists that he's married to just one person who lives here in Ghana, and that particular allegation against him, he says he considers it to be scandalous, and on Monday his lawyers will ask that the court expunges it from its records entirely since it has no merit whatsoever. He's also assured the court that he will show up to stand trial anytime he's needed if he's granted bail.
Joseph Akable, our court correspondent. We stay in the court because the Kumasi High Court has granted bail to 2 of 3 accused persons standing trial over the murder of the social activist Ibrahim Mohammed, also known as Kaka Macho. It followed a bail application filed by the counsel for Isaka Ibrahim, also known as Anyas, and Hussein Al-Hassan, the 2 known New Patriotic Party polling station executives, and a 3rd accused person, who is the brother of the late activist Mohammed Idi, have been on remand in the police custody for the last 9 months following their arrest in June last year. My colleague Ohimen Teria, who has been on this beat, joins us on the phone with more on this. Ohimen, what are the details of this latest development, since we know that the accused person have been standing trial at the Asokwa District Court?
Yes, Kojo, counsel for the 2 accused persons, Tafatasa, filed the bail application at the time that the 2 accused persons were not even present in court. So the court, after listening to the arguments of the counsel, granted the 2 accused persons bail in the sum of 70,000 Ghana cedis each, with 2 sureties and then landed properties to be justified. Yes, the accused persons were expected at the Asokwa District Court on 22nd of this month. At the last appearance, at the last hearing, they were absent in court, Kojo.
Do we know if they've been able to satisfy the bail condition?
The last time I checked from the police headquarters, the 2 accused persons were yet to meet the bail application. So what it means is that they are still in custody and they've not been granted that freedom that they are expected.
Ohimen, how is the family of Kaka reacting to this new development?
For the family of Kaka Mohammed Macho, they are shocked because they were expecting that the accused persons will appear at the Asokwa District Court on 22nd of this month. And to hear that they've been granted bail is something that still baffles them. But they say they wouldn't want to comment on the issue publicly until after a meeting with the lawyers, so they will know the best line of action to take.
That's my colleague Ohimen Teria there, bringing us the latest on the trial of the social activist Ibrahim Mohammed, popularly known as Kaka. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We're taking a break. When we return, we'll bring you the latest in our Ghana Man series.
The movement is mostly an articulation of the feet and then the neck, and then the upper torso. Almost like how the Kenyans, they move. The Kenyans, they move vertically upward. The use of the horse tail.
And later, our hero goes home. We hear from friends and family as well as close colleagues of our late general manager, Elvis Kwashi, who died last year.
Elvis will be in our memories for so long because he's left some impressions that will take forever to replace.
And it's a real significant loss to the brand.
Hey, Everkoku, what brings you to my house this early morning? I hope all is well.
All is never well with me, Onikbakbo. After paying 3 times for the land for my project, the construction workers are now giving me wahala. From material overestimation to small stealing. I am tired.
I told you so, Everkoku.
It's all because you are trying to become builders when you're corporate workers and business people. Edlum has products tailored to meet your needs. Villas 3 at Amrahia, where there are finished homes. Conveniente, also at Amrahia, where it's contemporary but super affordable apartments. Prices start from $35,000. And the Avant-Garde, located in Adjurigano, which has sleek luxury apartments. For more information, please visit edlumhousing.com or simply call 0270-166-166. Edlum Housing, where spacious homes cost less.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News with me, Ernest. Time now for sport, and Muftal Nabila Abdullahi is here with the latest.
Director General of the National Sports Authority, Peter Chumesi, has assured Ghanaians The Cape Coast Stadium will be ready to host the World Cup qualifier between the Black Stars and the Super Eagles. The facility playing surface appears brown, raising concerns over its readiness for the first leg of the match expected to take place on March 25. But Chumesi insists its current state is not a big deal.
Of course, if you have these army vehicles and marching and all that on the pitch, it will be impacted. But I think what we have really now put in place, mechanism is said that it can recover the pitch just within about a week. So in the next week, if you want to really go there and check the state of the pitch, you realize that suddenly everything has been installed.
That is Professor Peter Chumesi, Director General of the National Sports Authority.
Thank you, Mukhtar, for bringing us the latest in sport. In our Ghana Man series this week, we shine the light on indigenous Ghanaian dances that you may know about. Today, we'll tell you about Alanje, the genre and dance of the Gonja people of the Savannah region. The dance performed usually when kings and other royals sit in state adapts the use of horse-tail and talking drums to tell a story. My colleague Justice Bedu went to see the Ghana Dance Ensemble perform it at the University of Ghana, and our reports.
Alange originally comes from the northern part of Ghana. So they use the atumpan, okay, or the talking drum to perform. They use the lunga and then gungong. Gungong is what we call brekete, the big armpit one, and then the lunga is the dono. They use that one to perform. The movement is mostly an articulation of the feet and then the neck, and then the upper torso. Okay, almost like how the Kenyans they move. The Kenyans they move vertically upward, but we jerk our necks. It's also a social dance, performed mostly when royalty gather. So during Derbers, where royalty come, they perform this alange prior to the royals or the kings and then the queens for them to come onto the Derbar grounds.
Justice Bedo's report for our Ghana Man series. It's been 3 months and team members under the Joy brands of the multimedia group have not heard Elvis Kwashi's morning prayers. We've not felt his tickle or his exacting tone after the midday news. Affectionately called the real boss, Elvis has left a vacuum. Tomorrow he will be laid in state in his hometown, or he will be laid to rest in his hometown after a funeral at the forecourt of the State House. He has some tributes from team members captured in a documentary to celebrate his life.
Elvis, he was a very empathetic person, and I always used to tell him that, listen, this job, there are lots of people with egos, and you need to have a big heart to manage egos. And I saw that thing, it came to him naturally, and I thought that his passion for the job coupled with this empathy that he was demonstrating, I thought was the right combination for anybody leading this newsroom.
Made it clear to me how proud he was about what I did. It wasn't just words. A few days after I came to the office and I met Hannah, and she told me, wow, have you seen what Elvis had done for you? I said, no. He said, go to the newsroom. And there was a plaque of Latif in the newsroom. And for me, that was a pat in the back, and that has kept me going.
I think he's one of the best leaders I have met. He's strict and he's sweet at the same time. This is a typical Elvis for you. Aisha bebe, Aisha my cappuccino. And then I'll respond, EL my bebe. I mean, that's how it's always been.
Elvis was definitely a leader and a father at the same time. I remember that after some time working with him, I thought he was too tough, and I just didn't understand why he kept, hammering on one thing over and over. So I sort of withdrew from him. But he noticed and he called me back and said, why? Why are you avoiding me? And we had to talk things over, and the relationship changed from there.
Elvis is a stickler for doing the right thing. So he would always tell you, make sure that your facts check out, because if they do, you don't have anything to be afraid of.
So bullets, dear, I bet. He took so many of them, and he always believed we will win.
All of us around respected him a lot because he led. He was interested in how you could develop. We'd come into the newsroom when we were having reviews. He'll be pacing around. Your opinion mattered as anyone else. It mattered just as an editor or anybody else. You could speak your mind.
If someone is going for an interview, the person asks me, what should you prepare for? I don't know, because my interview with the guy, we're talking about where I come from and when was the last time I went there. And so he saw something in me that I didn't see. And whenever it was his birthday, I always made it a point to send him the same message always, to tell him that I owe everything that I am and anything that I'll ever become to him. Because he spotted me and I don't know what he saw, you know.
He is one person who is very good at spotting talents, and it is one of the things that we are going to miss within the group.
He was a pillar on all fronts. If I needed somebody to pray with me, I would send Elvis a message. If I needed professional advice, I'll call Elvis. So that's the kind of person he was.
Johnny's correspondents across the country say distance was never a barrier for Elvis.
When I had my wedding far back in 2013, at that time he had joined the multimedia group to lead the group not long ago. But he still managed to travel all the way from wherever he was to Cape Coast to join me to celebrate that day. And for me, it was very good. Occasionally he will call you, Richard, how is your beautiful wife doing? How are the kids doing? And all of that. And for me, to get someone like him to extend some kind of relationship beyond the work, I think it was so great.
Ever since that we lost Elvis, I've also lost my voice. I remember I used to do like say 16, 17 stories a month. But since we lost Elvis, that motivation is no more.
I am still in denial until maybe tomorrow when I see him.
Those are our correspondents, some of our correspondents from across the country. We'll be hearing more from them. But team members have joined me in the studio, and together we say,
Elvis, we love you. We miss you. Thank you for everything.
What I told God at the beginning of the year is that nobody under my watch should die. And I thank God that on the 23rd of December, everybody's alive.
A full Elvis question.
Whoa.
Million people around the world have died from COVID-19 since the pandemic began.